This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook, and I have two superpreneurs because they're in a space that most people still actually don't know about, although it's the fastest growing and probably largest sport in the world. I have Johanna Faries, and she's the commissioner of Call of Duty, and Jack Harari, VP of Global Partner and Development at Activision Blizzard, which here in Orange County, you guys are a neighbor of mine, but Jack, I know you're in New York. I'm going to start at the very basics because I was on Barstool Sports. I'm not going to say what show because it'll embarrass my friends, but a really big sports show. And they were asking me what I thought the hottest thing to invest in, the hottest thing to look at in sports. And I said, believe it or not, beyond gambling, I think it's esports. And both of them, one being a former NFL star and the other, a huge celebrity at Barstool, looked at me and said, what's esports? And once again, and this was about 9 months ago, once again, I said, oh my gosh, we are still at the pre-chasm of esports. So I'd like one of you two to just define esports for everyone out there in case they're hiding under a rock somewhere or haven't heard of it. Oh, don't everybody jump.
Reason probably that and I may have made the jump. I spent a ton of time at the NBA. I spent a ton of time at the NFL. But it's really about celebrating the best of the best professional gamers in all the world based on certain IP. So using Call of Duty as the example for Call of Duty League, you've got the best of the best Call of Duty players. They're recruited onto city-based teams just like the Mets or the Lakers. But instead of playing, baseball or basketball, they're playing Call of Duty. There's a dedicated rule set. There are specific maps and modes that those teams play on, but it's effectively team versus team, city versus city, and they're franchised very similar to the traditional sports leagues that we all know and love, at least here at Activision Blizzard, which I think is part of the appeal to those of us who spend a lot of time in traditional sports.
Yeah, it was an appeal for me. I'm blessed to be a founding investor in originally Splice, which is now Overactive Media. So super excited about what's going on. Now, Johanna, you have a unique background. I tell kids all the time that want to get jobs in sports that sports is almost not even an industry anymore. It's a theme. And so I say what you really want to focus in on is your skills, your knowledge, and your desire, and then apply it to whatever entertainment, sports, industry or theme that you want to, but you really have to focus on your skills. Your background is extraordinary. I have a chip on my shoulder about the Ivy Leagues because all my siblings, all 5 of them, went to Harvard, Penn, and Columbia. I went to Occidental so I could play football. Anyway, could you imagine when you were at Harvard studying and then working for the big leagues that someday your job would be to be a commissioner of a video game? And how and what skills that you have and knowledge that you have attained, how has that applied to be a commissioner of a video game?
Yeah, the short answer is no. Never for a second thought I'd end up having this job or that this type of job would even exist in my lifetime. But I think, part of it is I've always loved sports. I was a multi-sport athlete growing up. I always fell in love with the stories of how we storytell around sports, sports ability to inspire. I fell in love with SportsCenter back in, the 90s when it was just, to me, the most magical place to think about one day working. So I always had an affinity for it. I never even expected that necessarily would translate to working at league offices. What I would say, though, is the skills that I both acquired while I was at the NFL and even now in this new job always comes back around to creating foundational business models that can scale. We're in a scale business, right? And if that scale, it's all about like how quickly can you scale, but as long as you see sort of a pathway towards growth because there's fandom that can sort of drag with the business investments that you're making. If that vision is sound, it's sort of principally, I think, the same. And it's also stakeholder management. I mean, constantly, especially in the role of a commissioner, you are getting calls each and every day. A lot of those calls are not from happy people because they have different expectations of the business that we are now building together. The owner has certain expectations in his market or her market. The players have expectations about their playing experience. Competitive integrity is a shared expectation. Fans want to have a certain set of directional input and feedback loops, especially in gaming where everybody is so digitally native and so vocal. So you're sort of constantly balancing and negotiating and reconciling those expectations, knowing it's never going to be perfect for any one stakeholder. But the beauty of leagues is that we're all kind of in it together, and that's where that scale ultimately can come from. So I don't know, Jack, if you'd add anything, but that's how I'd answer that question.
Yeah, I think, Jack, too, your background, though, has more alignment, going to what I consider one of the best business development schools. And I know people probably have never defined a school like that, but I think, my friends who all went to University of Wisconsin, the guys at Wheels Up and, Avion, that networking group, at Wisconsin is extraordinary. And then you were in communications, television, and media. And so another medium here being esports, it's more, I think, aligned with you going back to a reunion and saying, oh yeah, I'm working for Activision and Blizzard and business development. People probably are not shocked considering your background of what you're doing today, as much as I would have been shocked sending my daughter to Harvard and telling them, well, what's she doing now? Oh, she's commissioner of Call of Duty. That's not quite as aligned with the expectation that you may have had, Jack. How have your expectations aligned with what you're actually doing today?
It's really funny. I started in traditional sports about 15 years ago at CBS Sports. And then I spent time at the NBA, and I spent time at the NBA in China. And all of it was just absolutely incredible. But the irony of it was that, if you had told me, and I grew up as a gamer, like I grew up playing a ton of video games. I wouldn't necessarily categorize myself as a strict gamer, but I love video games. I understand why it's a passion point. I played a ton of sports growing up. And if you had told me at 12 years old that I was going to at one point get to work on Super Bowls and get to work on Final Fours and then work at the NBA, like I would have signed up for that in a heartbeat. And then if you told me I was going to work at a video game company, that would have been the icing on the cake. And if 15 years ago if I would talk to people that were in their teens and told them that I worked at CBS Sports, that was awesome, right? That was perfect. But now when I have a 12-year-old nephew and a 10-year-old nephew, and they know where I work now, and to them that's better, right? To them that's better than when I was working at the NBA, which they thought was really cool. But like this is even cooler to them and even more admirable to them. And for me, that's awesome. Like it's just to be in an industry and to be at a company really and be working on products that are passion points for so many young people in a way that the way that traditional sports is obviously, but it is less so than it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. To me, it's a logical progression in my career, and it's something that I'm extremely proud to be a part of.
And that exponential growth of the fan engagement, we can't even fathom. There's certain things I tell people, the audience that exists in social media, the audience that exists with Twitch and other streaming services, the amount of engagement in all video games is extraordinary. And the cultural effect that, I'm 52 years old, and I, this summer asked my son, do you want this Hall of Famer to teach you how to play quarterback, or this Hall of Famer to second base, or, and I'm thinking to myself, listen to yourself. If I was a kid, I would have dreamed to have me as a dad. I must be the greatest dad in the world. And then he's like, no, actually, Dad, could you get me a coach to teach me this video game?
Yeah.
And he would then a Hall of Fame football or baseball player. And I can't even fathom being in this, how big this is going to get. But the thing that I love about it is it's the great equalizer. It is this sport that no matter who you are, what color, what size, what sex, what religion, if you have 2 arms or no 2 arms, it doesn't matter. You can participate and play. Why are people so engaged in this virtual aspect of truly competing and participating and watching and viewing? Why is it such a phenomenon?
I'll go first, Jack. I think part of it is because it's something that you can sort of be truly yourself in. There's something meta about, what I may bring to my Modern Warfare or my soon-to-be Black Ops Cold War experience. It's me time, but it's also we time with my husband or my friends or somebody in Japan or New Zealand. Like there's such an interesting dimension of how customized that entertainment experience can be, and yet shared at the same time, right? I can really sort of be myself. That's what we hear a lot from gaming communities, but also know that there's such a relatability. There's a gathering well, if you will, in a virtual world that breaks down barriers. It crosses borders, it crosses language, it crosses time zone. What I think is really magical about the esports piece is it then creates these elevated, amplified moments in time that we can eventize around that passion, right? And bring those communities together all over the world in sold out arenas physically or in virtual arenas. I mean, even for our championship weekend, in both cases for Overwatch League and Call of Duty League, we had to virtualize everything. But it was still such an amazing opportunity to celebrate the power of technology, the power of gathering, the power of passion, and aggregate that again at scale in these moments that matter to so many people who have such passion for this IP. So I think that's part of what's so magical to me about esports is you get all the magic of the NFL, you get all the magic of the NBA, and you can do much more from an innovation and tech perspective because these are digital experiences inherently that everybody is already kind of paying so much time into and so much share of mind. So it's a powerful space to play in both arenas that way.
And
I'd add something to that also,
yeah,
is that, and I completely agree with Johanna on everything, but it's, what we're also giving people is, if you're an avid Overwatch player, an avid Overwatch League fan, or if you're an avid Call of Duty player, there's now a reality that you could potentially be a professional in your major passion point, right? Like, and that didn't exist, 10 years ago. And we're delivering that to people around the world, or people get to admire the same way that I admired Michael Jordan, the same way that I watched the NBA Finals and think it's incredible what LeBron James can do. There are millions and millions of fans around the world who watch our esports and who can admire and appreciate that the skill level that is at play there. And it allows people to dream, right? It allows people to think, this isn't a thing that my parents have a problem with, because I can have a life in this and it makes me happy and I'm really good at it. And that's something that's awesome. And for us, that momentum keeps on going. We just for the Overwatch League last weekend, we had this is the third season of Overwatch League, and we just had our highest viewership ever, our highest global viewership ever for our grand finals. And that's momentum, right? And that's excitement, and that's passion, and that's allowing people to dream that they could earn a living and create a life doing a thing they love. And that's a really great thing for us to be a part of.
All three of us have been in this gaming world for a long time, and I don't mean just esports. I, ran the most notable sports agency, and then Warren Moon and I had our marketing and media company. And I realized as this is all growing that there's 4 aspects that you guys work on. One is, how are you capturing the content? How do you modify it for various ways? And then, Jack, I know you specifically utilize amplification and perpetuation to monetize for channel partners and associates and partners around. But one of the most notable things that I've never seen, and it wasn't available with traditional sports, is on the Thursday night football game that just went on, that there's a bigger audience with one of the world's greatest streamers, right? He had more people watching the game with him than actually was watching the game. Which is, as a marketer, as a business person, as business development, it opens up so many different avenues to monetize these things, let alone, I will admit to you both, and you're probably happy about this, I've spent more money in the last 12 months on virtual clothing than real clothing for my 10-year-old. And I'm fine with it because it makes him so much more happy. So Jack, I know you're in that side of the business. Where do you see the traditional marketing, business development working today, and where do you see better and bigger opportunities that exist within the context of what you guys do?
Yeah, it's funny. 2-3 years ago, we were pitching the notion of esports as an industry, right? And that's antiquated at this point. And we did a lot of the yeoman's work for our industry at large, in being out there and being strong with our messaging. And for us, it's conveying what's valuable about Overwatch League and about Call of Duty League and about the Call of Duty franchise and the Overwatch franchise, and just working with Activision Blizzard across our entire suite of assets that includes World of Warcraft and Hearthstone and all these other properties that we have. And for us, the value proposition of it is it's undeniable that you know, if you're a brand like Coca-Cola, who's one of our partners, they have touch points with our fan as an Overwatch League partner and as an Overwatch game partner at every point of that Overwatch fans, that Overwatch consumers experience in engaging with Overwatch, right? And our fans watch an hour and a half a week of traditional sports and 5 hours a week of esports. They are young. They're 25 years old is their average age, and their average income is about $120,000. I wasn't making $120,000 at 25 years old, and I don't know many that are. And a lot of them are engaged with our properties. And so if you're a brand and you want to hit that fan, you want to hit that consumer at every single point along the life cycle of their relationship with an IP, which is all Overwatch or Call of Duty or World of Warcraft, then you have to come work with us, right? You have to figure out a way to partner with us because 60% of our fans on Overwatch League and 45% of our fans on Call of Duty League don't have cable or satellite. They don't. 30% of them consider themselves not to be traditional sports fans. So, we are leaning into the digital nativity of our products and of our fan experience. And as brands, if you're trying to figure out your strategy, then you've already missed the boat, right? And you'd be playing catch up. And I think brands realize that, right? Again, 3 years ago when we were talking to companies, they were trying to learn a little bit, and now every company we talk to has a gaming specialist on their marketing team, or an esports specialist, or a dedicated gaming and esports agency. The same way that they have sports agencies, and so for us, it's about creating the experiences for our brand partners in ways that are unique to esports and unique to gaming that traditional sports or other forms of entertainment sometimes struggle to. Because we have that entire life cycle and that entire lifetime experience with that consumer across all of our different entertainment pillars.
Oh my God, man! I wish I would have invested twice as much into overactive media. The way you put that, I'm like, I still am just, as you speak, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is bigger than I can even handle, and I'm a dreamer. Just to finish up, Johanna. Every business has challenges, and that's because there's people and overhead still involved. Everything can't be virtual, and you have worked with people and overhead for a long time. What are some of the bigger challenges that you have as a commissioner? And what are you doing today to kind of regulate or move it to something that may turn into something positive in the future?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is pacing. I think because you talked about it, you are a dreamer. I follow all your stuff. I completely agree on purpose and just what are you doing and what gets you up in the morning, not just in the immediate term, but just like where are we taking this? And the journey here has so much upside, but because we haven't cracked it, everybody's trying to figure it out. Activision Blizzard's trying to figure it out. Riot's trying to figure it out. Everyone's trying to figure it out because it's still such nascent space. I think a lot of it is can do so much because of the power of the technology that we have, the global communities that we have, the vibrance and the passion of the fans that we have and the players. You have to actually temper to do much too quickly. You have to figure out what decisions you're going to prioritize. What we want to do in season 2 of Call of Duty League may be inherently different than what we want to do in season 12. And so I think it's both exciting, but it can also require a lot more sort of moderation, patience to say we're on a marathon, but it's not entirely clear where the marathon should lead. So we have a lot of choices to make, a lot of creative know-how in the buildings, so to speak. Where do we want to take it? What fundamentally do we want to do as far as structure, business models, content we create or don't create, live events we do or don't do. So I know that sounds like I'm inverting the negative into a positive. I don't mean that. It's almost a little bit of an embarrassment of riches at times. And then you have to say, okay, got it. The world is our oyster. This is the plan. And we'll iterate. we'll find out how good that plan was, right? But let's not let perfect get in the way of the good in all those decisions.
I couldn't even imagine. I think about the Super Bowl, and people laugh at me when I tell them, the first Super Bowl didn't sell out, right? They interrupted it for Heidi.
Right.
This was not like a huge deal. So, I mean, imagine the first Super Bowl all of a sudden being able to reach the entire world, and there's literally more people than watch the NBA Finals or watch these big games all at once, and you're sitting there. Half of you is like terrific, and the other half of you is like, oh shoot.
What do we do? Yeah.
To that point, David, we have, if you look at the lifespan of soccer, which is 200 years old, right? Baseball is 150 years old. Basketball and NFL and football are 100 years old, give or take. Sports in its current form is a decade old, and we don't even have our version of the forward pass yet, or our version of the 3-point line. Or our pitches are still throwing 80 miles an hour, and like that we haven't even hit that point yet, and we're already at this. We're already at setting record engagement and record viewership numbers in all of our properties, and figuring out how to unlock a 200 million gamer base on Call of Duty for a Call of Duty league. These are real things, and so the future is very bright.
Yeah, there's no even free agency. I mean, as a past agent and marketer, I sit there and people come to me all the time for advice on how do we market our celebrity, our athlete. And, I'm trying to utilize the same strategy as you is, look, here traditionally is what we can do today. And they get so excited about the offers and the numbers. I'm sure both of your phones are ringing off the hook, especially yours, Jack. Everybody wants to figure out how to give you their money, but you don't want to take the wrong money in the wrong way and build the wrong business model, because there is so much potential.
Definitely.
I lied to both of you. I got to ask one last thing, because you both are very philanthropic and you have a bigger picture in your mind. What are you guys at Activision and Blizzard doing on the philanthropic side of things? I know you do so much, but what's passionate for both of you as we finish up?
Well, at the corporate level, I mean, I'll speak on behalf of Call of Duty League in particular and Call of Duty. I mean, Bobby and what he has ushered in around Call of Duty endowment is tremendous. I mean, Dan Goldenberg and others who focus 24/7 on bringing veterans to high-paying jobs, high-quality jobs. They have set a new benchmark for that mission. And to do it at the caliber that Activision Blizzard has done it was also just like this enormous blessing to be able to walk into a corporate social responsibility that was already so healthy, and then to just figure out the creative ways in which code and CDL can help amplify each other has been awesome. We're going to see more of that coming up even next month. We have a Veterans Day of Service. Every single one of our CDL teams this year is going to participate in that in their local markets, whether virtually or in real time on the ground. And so that's just a powerful effort. And code in and of itself has sort of become yet another masthead for the franchise on the philanthropic side that you can see. We can really measure the results of how many jobs have we filled and making a true difference in the lives of military servicemen and women. So just amazing work there that I can take very, very little credit for.
That's awesome. Jack, anything on your side?
Pretty sure Johanna just said that perfectly.
Perfect. All right. Well, I appreciate both of you guys. Gaming for good, gaming for greatness, and you're going to change the world. This, if you don't believe me, you think about how have our sports really transformed the world, let alone the United States. There's nothing that will impact sports and the world more than what you guys are doing. I am so blessed to be involved in a very small part, although after this interview, I'm going to go call up my investment group and say I'm doubling down. I think hopefully we have another raise or something I can put some more money in, because this is incredible. Thank you so much for your wisdom. Thank you for your efforts, and thank you for everything that you do for the veterans. Johanna and Jack, this is Dave Meltzer here with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.